Okay, so this is the video for the Level 1, Chapter 1, Section 1 vocabulary. I will be going over the pronunciation as well as any helpful hints that I can give you to remember things or just to understand exactly what the German means and how it kind of works. So first of all, this is the introduction chapter. We're going to be going over the greetings and then how to identify people and say what someone's name is. So first word is, or phrase rather, good morning, and that is pronounced Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen. We can of course shorten that to morning, just like we do in English, and that would be Morgen. Morgen. Our next one is hello or good day. And just like Guten Morgen, it starts with Guten because that means good. So we have Guten Tag. Guten Tag. And the only thing that has changed is Morgen to Tag because, like I said, it's instead of good morning, good day. Again, can be shortened, and we would just say Tag. Tag. And that just means day, but we're going to translate it as hi because that is what we say in English, not day. Okay, our next one down, hello, a very informal but very similar to English way of saying hello. Hallo. Hallo. Okay, now the next one I've written as howdy, only to indicate that these two are maybe a little bit less common. Grüß dich is definitely informal. Grüß dich. And again, not quite as common as some of the other ones. The other phrase here is Grüß Gott. Grüß Gott. And that is a colloquial phrase for hello. So it's used only in certain areas of Germany or German-speaking countries. All right, moving on to the farewells. We have goodbye. This is a more formal way of saying goodbye, which is Auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen. And we can shorten that to Wiedersehen. Wiedersehen. And Wiedersehen literally translates to see again. So we can think of this one almost as saying, I'll see you again. But it is more formal than some of our other ways here. So our next two, we have see ya, which is tschüss, tschüss. And then the next one I translated to peace, only to indicate that it is a different way of saying goodbye informally. In Quizlet, if you keep using the same term, sometimes it gets confusing. So this one I translated to ciao, ciao. And ciao, you might recognize in some other languages like Italian. It is spelled differently in German, but yes, it does have the same origin, pronounced very similarly. All right, our last farewell that we have here is see you later, which is bis dann. Bis dann. And bis dann literally translates to until then. Okay, the next vocab word here is a verb, and it's actually an infinitive verb. An infinitive is the most basic form of a verb. It's what the other forms of the verb come from. So heißen, heißen means to be called. And if we think of in English, if we said what someone's name is or how they're called, we don't always say be called. So it's not I be called, it's I am called. Of course, this sounds a little bit funny to us because we don't normally say I am called. We just say my name is, and then you say your name. But heißen means to be called. We can use this in questions and sentences such as, what is your name? Wie heißt du? Wie heißt du? Now you should notice here that heißen, dropped the en, and we added a t. Now that's all just so that heißen can match the word du, and du is the informal word for you. So it's used with someone that you know or are familiar with or are peers with. Wie heißt du? How are you called? Or what is your name? I can respond by saying my name is, which would be ich heiße. Ich heiße, and then you would say your name. Ich means I. Heiße is the conjugation or the changed form of heißen to match the word I. So ich heiße. We drop the en, add an e. All right, moving on down here, we have what is the girl's name? So this time a question with a specific person that we're asking about. Wie heißt das Mädchen? Wie heißt das Mädchen? So if you think of above when we said, what is your name? We can now change that to what is the girl's name by just changing instead of you, the girl. Wie heißt das Mädchen? Our response could be, her name is, sie heißt. What is the boy's name? Wie heißt der Junge? Wie heißt der Junge? Now pay attention to the fact that we had what is the girl's name and it was just wie heißt das Mädchen. Now what is the boy's name? Wie heißt der Junge? So all we have to do to change that question is change the person we're talking about. So instead of the girl, the boy. Our response here could be, his name is, heißt. Heißt. And then the last one dealing with heißen here, we have, is her name. Heißt sie. Heißt sie. Now what I want you to pay attention to here is that just like in English, when we say her name is, sie heißt in German, all we're doing to get to the question of asking what her name is, all we have to do is change the order of the verb and subject. So the verb comes first. So we'll notice that sie heißt, same two words down here, but heißt sie, just like in English where we have her name is, and then same three words, is her name. So we start with the verb in the question, whereas in the statement, it was not first. All right, so German operates very similarly to English in that sense. Now, the last thing I'm going to point out about heißen, we have a character that's not the same as English in this word. It's called an SZ. And the SZ originally comes from the S and Z in the older form of German, so they were written together to form one character called the SZ, which literally means SZ. But it is not pronounced like a Z. It is not pronounced like a B, which it kind of resembles. It is pronounced like an S. Please do not write it as a B. Please do not pronounce it as a B. It's pronounced like the English S, so it sounds like S. All right, moving on down. Here we go. So we have two simple words here, yes and no. So yes is ja, ja. And please note that ja, pronounced with a Y sound, is spelled with a J. So the German J sound is typically, not always, but typically a Y sound. There are some words that it sounds like more like an English J sound, but it's typically because of French. So for example, the word journal, and that's spelled with a J, but it kind of sounds like an English J, more so like a French J. And then we have our word for no, which is nein. Nein. Something I want to point out here, the letter combination EI. We saw that above in heißen and all of its conjugations, EI, pronounced like the English letter I. So it does not sound like E. It's not neen, it's nein. Nein. All right, so we have ja, nein. Our next question, who is that? This is a direct translation in German. So same words and actually the same order here as well. So wer meaning who, ist meaning is, and das meaning that. I know above we noticed that das means the, but it can also mean that. So wer ist das? Wer ist das? Who is that? And then we have the response, das ist. Das ist. Our next word, Mr., Herr, Herr, Mrs., Frau, Frau. You should also know that Frau can mean wife or woman, but we can also use it before someone's name to say Mrs. and then the name. So, for example, I could say Mrs. Smith, Frau Schmidt. All right, our next words are nouns, and these are a little bit different than the English nouns. So a couple of things about German nouns. They're always capitalized. They always have a gender. Now, if we look at teacher, this is specifically a male teacher. Der Lehrer, der Lehrer. Der is the word for the, or one of the words for the, and this is the masculine form of the. When we assign genders in German, so when we assign them to words, it is not always a reference to the sex of the person or animal. Most of the time it is, but there are some exceptions to that rule. We also have genders for words that are not animate, so they're not alive. So we have genders for words that are just normal everyday objects, such as books, desks, fans, a wall. Every single noun has a gender. Now in English, if I wanted to say that a teacher is a male, I would say male teacher, or teacher who is a man. In German, that's just one word, der Lehrer. If I wanted to say a teacher is a female, or express that a teacher is a female, which you have to do if you're talking about a female teacher, you would say die Lehrerin, die Lehrerin. Now the difference here, the first thing is that we have a different form of the word the. It's the feminine article the, die. And then we also added on the last two letters there, in, which is a feminine ending. Another thing to point out, we just talked about the EI, as in nine, EI making that I sound. In the word die, it's IE. So again, pronounce that second letter in IE or EI combos. So IE is pronounced like the English letter E. Die Lehrerin. All right, next one is another word for teacher, but this time we're adding the specific subject that this teacher would be teaching. So in this case, German teacher, der Deutschlehrer, der Deutschlehrer. And this is obviously, again, a masculine word, so a male teacher. We also have the female version, or feminine noun version. Female German teacher would be die Deutschlehrerin, die Deutschlehrerin. All right, we're also providing the word for biology teacher, and this time they've provided the feminine version, or the female biology teacher, die Biologielehrerin, die Biologielehrerin. All right, the next few nouns here, or two nouns, these are a little bit simpler. So we have the boy, der Junge, and then we have the girl, das Mädchen, das Mädchen. Now, a lot of people point out that this is a girl. Why isn't it feminine? All right, so we have a new word for the here, das, and das is called the neuter article. So if we think of our genders as having a spectrum almost, so we have masculine to neuter to feminine, neuter would kind of be the middle of the road there. So it's neither masculine nor feminine. However, that does not mean that a girl is not a female. It's just a noun gender. So you have to remember and not get confused or irritated by this. Noun gender is not human gender. Okay, so it's not that we're saying, well, girls are not feminine, girls are not female. That's not the case. This is only referring to the gender of the noun. So we're just talking about words here. Now, the reason why girl is neuter is because of the last 4 letters. This ending or suffix, it's called a diminutive suffix, and that just basically means that it's smaller. So we have words that end in CHEN, and what that does is it just makes it little. So if you think of for example, a girl being a smaller or little version of a woman, that's really the reason why here. So we were saying das Mädchen. Please also note that the A with the 2 dots above it, called an umlaut, the 2 dots there. Umlaut, it changes the sound of a letter, and we only put umlauts on 3 letters in German. Those are A's, O's, and U's. It does change the sound, so where a normal A typically sounds like A, it changes it to an E sound. The other sound that I want you to pay attention to here is the CH. And CH in German, there are 2 different CHs. This one is pronounced more like a cat hissing, so it sounds like sh, sh. So Mädchen, Mädchen. Okay, the next one down is the word for the. Like I said already, we have 3 different words for the. At least at first, we'll introduce 3. There are 3 different genders. The being masculine would be der, the feminine, die, and the neuter is das. Next word is and. In German, just 1 letter change there, changes to a U. The A changing to a U is und. Und. That's easy. Also einfach. Also einfach. Next one. Oh yeah. Ach ja. Ach ja. Of course. Ja klar. Ja klar. Now you should notice that we had ja above, meaning yes. Of course. Ja klar is like saying yes, clearly. So that makes sense as to why that's of course. And then our last word here is great, which is prima. Prima.